no idea.
The social economics of these horror villains.
Well, there's really no introduction into this video, but I did see a headline that I thought was interesting and wanted to talk to you about it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, so from the Hollywood Reporter, Dakota Johnson says Hollywood is a quote-unquote mess because studios want to remake the same things. Mm-hmm. That's her quote.
Okay.
And the direct quote, I think it's hard when creative decisions are made by committee, and it's hard when creative decisions are made by people who don't even really watch movies or know anything about them, and that tends to be what's occurring a lot, Johnson admitted.
I think that's a fair point, ultimately. That's funny that you mentioned that, because like earlier today, I was looking at this post that Mel Brooks had just put up about Spaceballs 2 coming in 2027. Yeah. And I found the video that was posted really funny and completely in the vein of Spaceballs. But it got me thinking for a minute. I'm like, I do miss parody movies. I really do miss that era where like more parody films would be created, like the era of like the Zuckers with like Airplane, Top Secret. Mm-hmm. And now, lo and behold, we are getting a Naked Gun
with Liam Neeson
movie coming out this year. Mm-hmm. And then next year, we're getting Scary Movie 6 with all of the Wayans returning onto the production team for it. And now, the year after that, we're getting Spaceballs 2. So it is kind of the return of a lost genre in its way with a spoof or parody movies. Mm-hmm. But they're like legacy films still, Yeah. They're like the same attached franchises or like a sequel of some sort from a previously constructed IP, and while they're updating it for contemporary times and contemporary references, it's still has some sort of an attachment to something that's already been done before. So even the very nature of a parody movie existing today still has to be attached to a parody movie that existed before,
Mm-hmm. I guess that's what's Dakota Johnson's point is that studios are more likely to gamble on a property that already exists than just similar genre, same genre, but completely different just idea from a different person. Everyone that you're talking about in Spaceballs is old as fuck. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like
Bill Pullman.
Oh my god.
Apparently Rick Moranis is going to come out of retirement. Coming back. Yeah.
I mean, why don't they just get Andre the Giant again? Just get his corpse and do Princess Bride 2.
Might as well. Dig up John Candy to bring him back too.
Oh god. Yeah. Okay, don't do that. Rest in peace to John Candy.
Rest in peace to John Candy.
I mean, I see the same headlines too. I just read a headline that said we're getting Devil Wears Prada 2.
I saw that too, like for next year too.
Why?
And I'm like,
why?
What?
Why does that movie need a sequel?
Did anybody ever envision that getting a sequel?
No, it doesn't need a sequel.
Like it would be
but
like
money.
27 dresses too.
28 dresses. It's like the Ocean sequel. Yeah. It's like 28 dresses, 29 dresses.
28 dresses later.
28 dresses later. Honestly.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's... I mean...
And Katherine Heigl will come out of retirement for that, too.
She actually... Dakota Johnson, who has been in the 350 Shades movies... so it's interesting getting that from her. But she's also been in the Spider-Woman movie. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, the Madam Web.
Madam Web, yeah, right. And so she talked shit about that movie when it bombed, too. So she is very open about Hollywood. Maybe it's because her parents are also famous actors.
She's a legacy child.
Yeah, so she can get away with that.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, she's been able to kind of talk shit about some of the projects that she's worked on and get away with it pretty well. But she also works on a lot of good projects as well. And she has nothing but high opinions of those pieces of work, like 2 Luca Guadagnino films, A Bigger Splash and the Suspiria remake, the Bad Times at the El Royale, which very underrated kind of mystery movie, and now Materialists. So she's like no stranger to some original ideas and being part of actual auteur-driven filmmaking. But at the same time, it's like she'll go back and do something like Madam Web and then talk shit about it in interviews.
Well, there's still people, right? Actors are still people, and so when you see that check, that Sony check,
exactly,
you're gonna take it.
Ultimately, I commend her efforts. I mean, in her post 50 Shades career, I think she's put out a lot of good work.
Mm-hmm. And she's only 35, so
I know
she still has a lot of time.
Plenty of time.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess we might as well get into it. That's a good
Why
segue.
not?
She's got. I think ultimately she does make a good point.
Mm-hmm.
You think about all the movies though that are coming out this year, and so many. We've had a lot of good original movies this year, but obviously the year isn't even half over yet, and there's still plenty of intellectual property-driven filmmaking that's going to be hitting the big screen for the rest of the year, especially in the summertime periods. But with that said. My name is Davis Leaf. I'm here with my co-host,
Romanus.
And today we are going to talk about Celine Song's sophomore film, Materialists, which both of us saw yesterday, individually, not together.
No.
Because we didn't have a third person to really kind of make it come together.
To have some triangle, like love triangle.
Love triangle, just like this movie, yeah.
Maybe we should have had a third wheel for this pod.
That would have been fun.
Who would we have had? Who do you think?
I don't know if I want to brainstorm and then name drop who our ideal third wheel on this podcast would be.
You know who you are.
I'm the third wheel.
You are the third wheel?
Is that what you're going to say?
No, I'm telling the person who's listening to this pod. They know they know who I'm talking about. They know.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of think they do.
Yeah.
When you stop and think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so we both saw it. We saw Materialists because some people on this podcast like that listen to us enjoy rom-coms.
Right.
And we're like, we might as well talk about a rom-com instead of going to see the new John Wick movie.
Yeah, we've seen women beat up guys before. Yeah. I feel like I could go without seeing another action movie
you don't need to see that.
Well, I mean, just there's already 5 John Wick movies, right? Or 4?
4. Well, okay. I mean 5 if you count this new one.
Okay. Now there's 5, right? Yeah. I kind of just took a shot in the dark, and I was right.
See, I watched John Wick 4 a couple days ago before I decided not to go and see Ballerina for today's reviews. And I was like, yeah, it's not going to get better than this.
No.
Why bother? No.
And it's...
I love John Wick 4.
Let's do John Wick, but make it a woman.
Yeah.
Make the character a woman.
And then bring John Wick back and then make him the villain. Which, and I ideally, I like that kind of an idea, but it kind of feels like... I get the sense that I'll walk into that movie and it'll just be the fan service show whenever he shows up, and
he's gonna walk out cool.
not really service the plot outside of just being John Wick.
Yeah, he's gonna have a pencil.
Yep, and I'm like, oh, look at that,
the bulletproof suit.
I'm sure honestly, if I saw the movie, I'm sure I would enjoy a lot of the action in it.
They're gonna do judo on each other.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna rush to see it right now.
No, yeah.
It's weird because the idea of seeing it was a lot more appealing until I had to go and see it for this podcast.
Well, we were going to do a double feature.
We were.
But we said, you know what? We have no time for 2 movies. Yeah. Let's just watch the one where...
Let's talk about the original one.
Well, I have a summary for the original one.
Hit me.
Dakota Johnson stars as Lucy, a young, ambitious New York City matchmaker who finds herself torn between the perfect match played by Pedro Pascal and her imperfect ex, Chris Evans. Davis.
The broke one.
The broke one. Jesus.
The movie's words, not mine.
No, yeah. They really go in on
they really
guys
do.
that just are broke. It's
just like, this guy is broke.
Man, they argue in the car with $25.
I know.
It's just, man.
What
did you think?
I really enjoyed it, and then I kind of enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. There's a very particular moment about halfway through the movie where this incident happens with one of Lucy's clients. And from that point, for the rest of the movie, it went from being really good to just kind of serviceable. It's all right,
This movie is billed as a romantic comedy, but it's more of a romantic drama.
It's definitely a dramedy. And there were some really dry moments of humor in this movie. But not a lot. It was mostly heavy on the dramatic end. I actually agree with you in the tone shift, right? So at the beginning, it is a
it's a charming kind of romantic comedy. Like if at the first half, I could see if someone describes it as a romantic comedy.
Great dialogue, elements of Hitch.
Yes. Oh yeah. This movie is trying. It reminds me a lot of Hitch.
It really did.
But Hitch was much funnier.
It was because it commits to its humor.
Yes.
This one commits to its humor and then it commits to its drama.
And Dakota Johnson does a great job, but she's nothing on Will Smith. Like, let's just be clear.
Like, I'm looking forward to talking about the three leads.
Okay. Well, but
continue.
So I do agree with you that the movie it almost does a 180 with the tone shift at the event that you're talking about, which like we shouldn't spoil.
No.
Go see the movie
because it's very real and down to earth and makes perfect sense.
It's very realistic, and it happens, and in the world of matchmaking and online dating, it's an outcome that isn't a surprise.
No.
It's a shame, but it's real.
And the movie does a good job of addressing it.
And I would say, for me, this movie I enjoyed the movie. It's a great satire and commentary on today's current romantic climate,
social dynamics of it, the expectations, really the dichotomy of just like looks, whether it's height or figure, and income and wealth.
Yeah.
And it's really trying to deconstruct the expectations that people have when searching for a partner, and if they, as the movie likes to put it, check those boxes.
Right. Lucy is playing this matchmaker who works for this matchmaking company called The Door.
Like, I have a question. Are matchmaking firms a real thing?
Absolutely.
Are they actually?
Yeah.
See, that was confusing me a little bit in the movie. I was like, wait, is this a real job?
Not even
that
just
people can have?
Dude, in different countries, matchmaking is a serious industry.
That's
like
actually
in
interesting.
India, they have pamphlets where your all of your stats are in this magazine, and you flip. I actually had a friend who got married in India or got engaged in India, and so they would go on stage like a pageant and just talk about themselves. So like, I'm getting my PhD, or I'm in med school, and like all of these things, and then the families of the men are watching these women talk about themselves on stage and just like single file. So yeah, depending on where you're at, matchmaking is a very serious industry.
I found that to be one of the more utterly fascinating parts of the movie, ultimately, because I felt a little bit perplexed about it at times. I was like, is this a real thing that people professionally do? Yeah. And I'm like, interesting.
And Lucy is this very like slick talking matchmaker. She's the top at her firm, where she talks about how like 6 of her clients have led to marriages, or along those lines.
I think it was like 9.
Okay, 9.
Like the movie opens with them celebrating her hitting like 9.
Exactly. Which that's a very clever way, clever writing to show that 9 marriages. Like if she's at the top of her,
she's responsible for 9 marriages.
That's a significant amount, right? So
it really establishes her esteem in this industry like instantly. And she, like you said, she's a slick talker. She's very sharp-witted and knows how to talk to people in general. And at the same time tells people what they want to hear and what they need to hear.
I'm not usually a fan of Dakota Johnson because I feel like her delivery can be like dry. And
I know what you mean. It's a little stoic at times.
But it is played really well.
She is really good in this movie.
She's really, really good. And I think that her sort of stoicism on screen comes off as a quiet confidence. And so...
But also very guarded, which she is throughout a lot of the story, too.
She is. And we can get into that with like her relationships with the 2 male leads. But I also wanted to comment how like she's confident, but she's not stealing the spotlight. Yeah. And it was apparent in one of the scenes in the beginning of the movie where she's at a wedding of one of her clients, and they're having a breakdown, and people
the jitters.
are right there, the cold feet, and people are looking to her to basically fix the situation.
That at first was one of the more funny moments in the movie too, like with her posse following her around, and she's just like walking in like formation
Yes.
with her group of people down the
Yes.
hallway, and then somebody comes out from the corner and points, just like really, really stiffly points down the hallway, and then they just scamper away.
It was like a general walking in the hallway.
I thought it was really funny.
And she looks at them and says, "I need a moment alone," and they all just scurry out.
Immediately just turn around so quickly, and it's very robotic.
and just for the audience, the audience should see this, and I won't spoil it to what she said to have the effect.
Yeah.
But she handles it so amazing. Like she doubles as like a sister or a therapist, and in this role as a matchmaker, and she saves the day. And so like what I'm trying to say about that, like not taking the spotlight, she just has this perfect presence where she is guiding, or given the impression that she's guiding her clients to romance, that they could do it without her, but it's easier if she helps them.
Absolutely.
And just everything that she says, she's an incredible salesman.
Yeah.
Because like people around her are like constantly fighting for her contact information. Like everyone's interested in getting married.
Yep.
And even
she's a commodity in a lot of ways.
She is. She's a great saleswoman at selling her advice. One of some of the scenes that I had the most fun with in this movie was when she's talking to her clients, male and female, and how they're like
the montage moments.
And it's great because you just see and hear all of the wishes that people have, and their
perspectives, the expectations. I think this movie thematically does a very good job of deconstructing the depths of people's shallowness too.
Oh my god.
And they do a lot by playing with like type, age,
race,
income, again,
religion, politics, and just how petty and how unreasonable people can be.
Absolutely.
And
she reaches a good breaking point, which was like played very naturally.
Yes.
At first you don't really realize that she's kind of crashing out, and then the scene doesn't even take the time to kind of cut back to the person that she's looking at. It just moves on to the next scene with her just kind of trying to catch her breath. And it's like, oh wow, she really was having a breakdown, but totally warranted at that point.
and you know what? Everything that she's saying, I'm thinking too. Like
same, and almost like she's saying things at that point where I wish she had been saying the whole time almost, but she's still playing this role of always kind of like being in it for the client,
But also, everything, even though it's played as like satire, it's like tongue in cheek, it's supposed to be comedic. Everything that their clients said, I've heard in common conversation with people, men and women, and it just goes to show you that yes, people in today's current dating scene don't know what they want, or have unrealistic expectations, and probably take themselves out of the dating game because they want everything out of a romantic partner.
I think that's such a beauty of Celine Song's writing in this movie, particularly her dialogue writing, which carries over brilliantly from her last movie, Past Lives, which I wouldn't say Materialists is as strong or moving as Past Lives is, because that's one of my favorite movies of the decade so far. But she definitely continues to establish herself as a sharp writer in the dialogue and understands romantic genre filmmaking. And to be honest with you, a lot of what things I see in this movie, it just makes me look forward to seeing what she kind of continues to do next, if she's going to continue to make romance movies, or if she's going to break out eventually and try something different. But there are a lot of elements of things that I love about romance films in this movie, and that's why I found it to be a really enjoyable time. And even watching, I didn't release the review for Love Jones that we did back in February, that I'll just say that I thought was delightful. I loved that movie. Thank you for introducing that one to me as well. Course. But that movie, I think what the entire point of a good romance movie should be is it should also kind of know it's a romance film too, and it shouldn't be trying too hard to disguise itself as something else, because Love Jones is a film that knows it's a romance movie, the pretty consistent dialogue in that movie is about different elements of love and different perspectives of love. And Materialists is the same way, where it's just like constant dialogue about relationships and dating and love and the expectations that come with it and the shortcomings and the pitfalls of all of it as well. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to see in romance films, and I just don't feel like enough romance films understand that without coming off as cheesy or unrealistic. And so, yeah, I mean, Dakota Johnson's great, delivers Celine Song's sharp writing really well constantly throughout this movie. And there's a lot of great exchanges that use still frame camera work between two characters that just doesn't really break its take. I think my favorite scene in the movie is an exchange between Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
When they kind of make their relationship official, and it's just like one consistent shot in the still frame, perfectly centered. Like the table that they're sitting at is perfectly centered, and they're both on each end of the table. And they're breaking down each other's qualities. And she's like, because Lucy approaches dating very statistically. Like she's got a very calculated and mathematical mind, and I think that I think that was one of her most interesting character traits. But she's breaking every single quality down between the two of them statistically, and how that's going to measure up into somebody else's life in the dating pool. And she describes Pedro Pascal as a unicorn, go figure, which is just a perfect 10 in her book. Again,
he's super wealthy, handsome,
charming,
fit,
smart, nice. And it's just like, yeah, checks all the boxes, makes perfect sense to me. And then she goes on to deconstruct herself as to why she doesn't think that they would be a good match for one another, and just names all of her deficiencies rather than her good qualities. And so there's moments like that sprinkled throughout the movie where you start to realize that Lucy doesn't really hold a very high opinion of herself when it comes to being worthy of love or being in a relationship, which isn't like unoriginal for this genre. There's always a lot of skeptics and cynics that exist as characters in romantic films. To be honest, a lot of them make for the best romance films, in my opinion, because it's like it's them breaking out of that feeling. But Lucy is a character that has that kind of self-awareness about herself and doesn't have to be told that it's just like, you just don't think you're worthy of love and you need to open yourself up to other people. She knows that she doesn't do that, and she's perfectly content and comfortable with it, which I think makes for a very interesting and three-dimensional character in a romance movie, and kind of an original spin on that traditional cynical character in romance films.
No, I like everything that you're saying, and going back to the writing, I think that Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal do a great job with Celine Song's writing. Their chemistry on screen is fantastic. And the scene that you're talking about, where they're in the restaurant and they're talking about each other, evaluating each other for, Lucy is talking about, these are reasons why you shouldn't be in a relationship with me, Harry. And Harry says, well, these are reasons why I want to be with you. And the shot is so wide, and you just feel like you are looking at a couple from afar. Seriously. At the restaurant.
You feel like you're at the other table.
Yeah. And
it's like the leveling or the positioning of the camera even makes you feel that way too. It looks great.
You're at the level that you would be if you were a few tables away. So no, masterful.
Great. So that's one of my favorite scenes. So all that being said, we haven't touched on Chris Evans. Personally, I think Chris Evans gives the best performance in this movie. I think he is fucking fantastic in this movie. And maybe the best performance, I think, of his career.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was watching an interview with Celine Song, and she was talking about her reasoning for why she wanted to cast Chris Evans particularly in this movie. And it all stems from what already was, before I saw this interview, one of my favorite lines of dialogue in this movie is when he delivers the line, "I'm not merchandise, I'm a person." And Celine Song goes on to say in this interview that that's particularly the line that drew her to casting Chris Evans in this role, because she's seen that he is this powerhouse of a movie star right now, and has, I wouldn't say struggle to kind of break out of that like characterization of like Captain America during that time in his career, but has not been able to like be seen, has been just kind of tossed around all of these different large production studio films, and he's these aren't her words, these are just kind of my interpretation, but hasn't fully broken out of this merchandising of his character from the Avengers movies. And with this, I see him acting in this movie, and the hardest part about his character is like ultimately to be able to say that's Chris Evans and he's broke as hell. But the thing I like the most about his character is that this is not a kind of role that I would expect him to play today whatsoever. I've gotten so used to seeing Chris Evans in these large studio produced films, whether they're good or bad, and now he's doing something a lot more soft spoken and down to earth, and I look at him and I'm like, he's good in this movie. He's really good in this movie, because I honestly barely recognize him, and it's almost uncanny to see Chris Evans playing a role like this. And I think I like that, and I think that that's something that I want to see more of in his career going forward.
Yeah, they do a good job of, you can still tell it's Chris Evans, but they change his haircut.
Even some of his like facial mannerisms just don't look like him. Like my other favorite scene in this movie is when they crash this wedding, and they have a confrontation right outside. Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans, they have a confrontation outside of the wedding, and he is just unloading his feelings at that point, and that's also one of my favorite scenes between the two of the characters. And in that entire time, I literally could not tell that was Chris Evans whatsoever. I was just like, his acting in this scene is on a whole nother level that I have not seen from him in a very long time.
There's definitely a difference between Lucy's relationship between John and Harry, right?
Harry.
You start out with Harry, and she's just being swept off of her feet. He's like taking her to all these expensive restaurants, bringing flowers. Like he's like all of these very intimate settings. They're even in like this one sushi restaurant where it's just them at the bar. And I'm like, where the
I thought about
where
that
the
too.
hell are they going?
And I also thought, it's like, is this the same day?
It could have been.
It could have been,
because the lighting and aesthetic is sort of the same, like sort of like muted colors.
Don't even get me started on the lighting in this movie. It looks so good.
It looks constantly good, but you like it's so interesting how it changes with
from character
to character, right? Like almost muted colors, or just like very like just I don't know how to really formulate what I'm trying to say, but like there's a difference in Lucy between when she's with Harry and when she's with John. So like
massively. Like literally her personality changes between the two of them.
Yeah.
She feels a lot less guarded when she's around John, is a lot more open and honest about herself. And with Harry, she's kind of like playing that role that most people see her as, which is this like, which is what she is, this very powerful and strong-willed woman with a lot of interesting positions on relationships and romantic dynamics. And with John, she's just kind of like soft and just like less edgy all the time. And
we won't reveal what happens in the middle of this movie that peeved you, but when that happens, she is sort of has a crisis of confidence in her job.
Hugely.
And she's, a bit distraught. And so first person she calls is John, even though she's living with Harry, effectively. And you're thinking, damn, like, hopefully my girl don't do shit like
that. That's
what
I'm saying, man. Like there are times where I'm looking at Lucy and I'm like, maybe... Don't do that. Maybe don't do that.
But like,
don't call your ex when your boyfriend is in the same bed.
And then like even when she's bothered by her job and she's around both of them, right? So Harry doesn't notice anything about her demeanor. Like she's just cool, calm, collected, stoic, right? Yeah. But then when she goes around John and she's trying to put on a front, he looks at her, says, what's wrong? And she is even kind of shocked that he can tell what's going on with her. And even we should explain that John and Lucy were in a relationship, and they broke up because of their issues with money. And so you would think that,
and just get like part of her background, like honestly, the only other part of her background, other than her relationship with John, is that she was a failed actress, self-described failed actress, and then she discovered that she had a knack for matchmaking, and she made a career out of that, and her and John broke up.
And financial stability in a relationship, not even just financial stability, like she wants to be super wealthy to where money's not an issue. She even makes a comment about it in her fight with John where she says, I don't like arguing about money, it reminds me of how my parents fought. And even that little kernel of truth just lets you know, okay, this woman isn't it really explains what we would think is very materialistic as like a deep rooted pain in this character.
Which it's like, you can say that about a lot of people that didn't grow up having a lot of nice things. It just ultimately leaves them longing for the finer things and will do a lot of things in order to get those things.
These are definitely characters with a lot of depth to them.
Yeah, they'll break hearts. They'll sell their souls in order to acquire the wealth and stability. And it's like, so many people that grew up without money can honestly relate to that. And I think that's what's such an interesting dynamic between the three characters, where John is broke. They make a point to mention that almost every single time he's on screen. And it's like, we get it. I see that. I see his unshaved face. I see his unprepared hair.
He's 37 years old with two roommates, and then both are engaged, and with one roommate has his girlfriend over, so really he has three roommates, and he's like stepping on condoms and shit. Like it's not a good scene.
It's bad. His living. That's another thing I love about the camera work too, is it goes from that still frame camera work right when it cuts to John's apartment, it's shaky cam, it's chaotic, and it really emphasizes the two different lifestyles, and I'm like, this is good.
And the apartment is super small because it's really three rooms that once you leave, you're right in the kitchen. And that's it. There's no other extra common space. There's no like third, fourth space.
And presumably only one bathroom, it kind of looked like too.
The mirror won't close. Right? The and it's mirror
all
cabinet.
Scruffy looking.
They do a great job. Like, okay, I don't miss college.
I know, right? It's just like good production design. He definitely looks broke.
And you Chris Evans' face, like you look at his reflection in the mirror, and he's like, yeah, this is my life.
And he constantly looks exhausted and run down in this movie, and like there's almost like red rashes on his face from time to time that you notice too, where it's just like, you can tell that this guy's run down, but there's a part of you that looks at him and he's just like, yeah, this is my life, but he accepts it. He accepts it so much because he's just doing this to do whatever he wants to do, which is be an actor. His character's a stage actor.
And in its own way, that's to be admired, right? Like, I think you can look at Harry and John and find many things to admire about both of them, right? Like, John is still a good guy. He's just, following his dream of being an actor, and he's
sacrificing everything else in his life to do that.
Really. There's a lot of people like that in New York.
Starving artists.
Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely, if that's what you want.
If that's your lifestyle choice, there's nothing wrong with it because you're happy.
Yes, and Harry, who is super wealthy,
hedge fund,
hedge fund, and his parents
work his family hedge fund, ultimately. But he's still also a really nice guy.
He's a very nice guy. Pedro Pascal is amazing as Harry. I'm kind of flipped. I really fell in love with Pedro Pascal as Harry in this movie.
See, this is where he's really good. That scene in question that I mentioned is my favorite scene. Is my favorite scene with him in this movie. I'm getting to the point officially now where I'm really struggling to see Pascal's range a bit.
That's so interesting because even Chris Evans was Captain America, and we saw him as Captain America for 12 years, maybe more. But it's funny how he can disappear in this movie a bit, but Pedro can't.
I thought that was funny too, but maybe once Pedro becomes Mr. Fantastic, I'll feel differently.
We're going to see Pedro literally next month in a movie. I thought
we're going to see him in 2 movies.
Does Pedro Pascal have child support or something? He is in a ton of movies.
But the thing is, he's doing pretty good projects.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's for sure.
Like he was just in the Last of Us series, which I didn't finish the second season, but I liked the first season. He's really good in that season, and then we just saw him today, and then he's in Ari Aster's new movie next month as well, and then a week after that he's in Fantastic Four.
Yo, I forgot about the Ari Aster movie.
Yeah, did you see the trailer? The new trailer for dropped
a long time ago, but
there's a new one that just dropped a few days ago.
Okay,
looks great. Looks like a good time. Good satire.
So people are having Pascal fatigue.
I'm afraid I am a little bit.
That doesn't bode well.
It's just frustrating that he's in the movies I already want to see, so I have no choice.
It would help if he shaved his mustache for different.
It's just like I need you to do something different with your look at the very least, and then I can at least pretend like I see more range.
Maybe
here.
go buzz cut in the movie, like maybe
it'll happen eventually. Like I think he's gonna get through this year, and then by next year he's gonna have a new look.
But I think
he's a great actor.
He's a consistent leading man.
I really like him as an actor. I think he's terrific. I'm just like, I'm fatigued out and it's a bit oversaturated, so it's kind of blending together for me right now.
Man, but you know what? In the first scene where he's like in that tuxedo and he's like just walking around the wedding party, and like they have the shot where like if I was him, like he takes the card where he's supposed to sit at the singles table, takes it and just put it next to Lucy's and sits down. I'm like, God damn, like this guy.
That was swift. Yeah. I like that. And I was thinking at first to myself, when he's walking into the room and it's kind of tracking him, like greeting people and talking to people, I was like, there's a version of me that wants to think this is just how Pedro Pascal enters any room at any time. But after seeing kind of the videos of him tooling around Cannes last month, I realized, this isn't how he acts in real life at all. He wears crazy clothes. Yes. And he says the most outlandish stuff in public. Yes. Like, not offensive stuff, but just, like honestly, diva stuff. Yeah. It's pretty... He seems like a really funny-ass dude in real life. And so I'm like, that's not how he acts at all. He is still playing a character. And for that reason, despite the fatigue I'm feeling a little bit, he's still really good in this movie. I really did enjoy him.
All three strong performances. I think if you choose one and say it's your favorite, I couldn't argue with it.
No, I honestly can't either. Like, they're all very strong in their own way, and there's a really strong case for which one is the best. But it is a movie that's bent on those three performances ultimately. So if those don't work, then the rest of the movie doesn't work.
Speaking of performances, maybe something that you would have noticed.
I have this written down. I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
I love you. Can I say it?
Of course. Of course.
I spotted 2 Succession alums in this movie.
Oh, I spotted 3.
What?
I'm kidding.
I don't do that. I got more excited.
You looked at me. Yeah. Okay. I spotted the 2 as well.
Yeah. There's one that's like a main supporting character in this movie. Zoe Winters, who played Carrie in Succession. And then what was it? Dasha.
I have her name. Dasha Nekrasova.
Yeah, she's Russian. It's a Russian name, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
She plays Daisy, Lucy's friend.
She's in a few scenes.
Yeah.
But I immediately recognized her, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's Kendall's PR team
and Greg's
girlfriend.
Yeah, Greg's girlfriend. That he leaves for a princess, basically.
Yeah, he did do that. Yeah. Too bad.
Greg the egg.
He lost.
I agree.
Yeah, but like she has a couple good exchanges of dialogue with Dakota Johnson, and I wanted more of those moments. Well, honestly,
they're like their first scene. They talk about the surgery where
the height surgery.
Yeah, where you can like break your legs and then gain 6 inches and get taller.
Which, first of all, didn't even know that.
Yeah,
like makes sense, I guess. But second of all, I do have to say that's one thing I don't love about this movie is how they tie that back into the movie.
Yeah.
I did not like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little, come on, man.
No spoilers, but it does come up in a way.
It comes up again.
And it can be kind of corny.
It was a bit egregious, in my opinion. I was like, really? I'm sorry. I was just like, I don't really buy this. But, I mean, I believe the surgery is real. I just don't buy this being rewritten into the movie.
The thing is, it is real. And I've heard people talk about it. I've heard friends that I have that are like 5'8" talk about this. And it's like, dude, your average height for a guy.
That's
like,
true.
Why?
What's your height, by the way?
I'm 5'11".
Are you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't lie, baby.
Good for you.
Yeah. I actually had an argument with a woman. Like, so a woman asked me at a bar recently how tall I am, and I said 5'11", and then another woman was like, you know what? Thank you for not lying, because I'm 5'9", and guys that are shorter than me say that they're 6 feet. And and by the way, men do lie about their height.
I'm sure they do.
You're like 6'3", 6'4"?
6'3", yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's something I was watching this movie and I felt really good about, though. Like, I was like, God damn, this movie's like not trying to be like malicious in this conversation whatsoever, but it's really making a pretty strong point about like the expectations that people have with height.
Well, height
and
wealth,
weight.
Weight, race. So like, I mean, you can punch holes in any of like these issues, right? So like, even with height, most like the average height for a man is 5'8", and I think for women it's like 5'4", 5'5". Maybe
they might have increased it, but
so like, why don't you date somebody who is at a height that's comfortable for you? Like, I've seen women date shorter guys. It just don't care about that shit. Weight, I mean, I'm a heavier guy, but I feel like I've had no problems. Like,
you have not, sir.
Yeah, like I feel like, hey, like,
bank accounts don't lie, right?
Hey, I mean, shit. Even before the money came in, you know?
Okay.
No, but
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Let me go race. Well, I mean, don't date a racist. How about that? Like, that's just
the number one rule I think when it comes to dating. Is don't date somebody that's racist.
I mean, if somebody doesn't want to be with you because of their race, they're doing you a favor. Come on. Okay. Anything else that I'm missing? What other boxes?
Okay, we talked about wealth. I mean,
wealth I mean, I will say that I've heard people throw out numbers about how much money they want their partner to make.
Oh, of course, yeah,
and
it's a thing.
I think that with like, I heard a woman say, I want a guy that makes like $500,000 a year. Which, how many people are making that much money?
I was gonna say, I don't think I know anybody personally.
Probably not.
Well, maybe I do.
Maybe you do. Yeah, you don't know, but like that is such a, like, you can meet somebody that's making $100,000. You probably know quite a few people that make that.
The spectrum of like wealth disclosure is kind of the same on both ends, though, too. Yeah, it's like if you make if you make a very little income, then you don't really want to reveal that to people. No, but also if you make a very high income, same result. You want to stay modest and not reveal that.
I have a question for you that might interest our audience.
I can't wait.
Money is one of the number one reasons people get divorced.
Yes.
When do you think, Davis, you discuss money with your partner? Like a serious sit-down conversation where you kind of put everything on the table.
When you move in together.
Okay.
I would say.
Okay.
That would kind of be the first natural occurrence in which I would really have a serious discussion about like how we're not necessarily merging finances, but just like how we're just kind of distributing finances. Because you're living together. You may not merge your finances whatsoever, but there are still household occurrences that all parties living need to contribute to. So it's like if one person decides that they're going to spend groceries on money this week,
on groceries this week.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said groceries on money.
I've only worked that way.
Hey, I'll give you my food and
I'll
give me some money.
I'll give you my rotten bananas here for a couple of bucks.
It's like video games. Like,
trading, the bartering system. Yeah. Maybe. Like, I wish some.
Or maybe you're a grocery store.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I am a grocery store.
Maybe you're a grocery store.
A walking one. That'd be fun. But I'd never go hungry. I would solve word hunger. But I think so. One person goes out and buys groceries one week, and then maybe the next person goes out and buys groceries that week. So it's like, it's not like a quid pro quo kind of structure to it. It's just like a mutual understanding that there needs to be some sort of a balancing act in terms of like the way that we are distributing finances. But the other thing that comes into question with something like that is who has the larger income.
I was gonna follow up with you because this is not a significant issue, but when you talk about, we can disclose this, both of us have in the past year been on the dating scene.
Yes.
And so of course money comes up eventually, even in casual dating. And one thing that women or just people in general might like, point their nose up to is the idea of like how you split expenses with your partner. So like, are you committed to going like 50-50 down down the line all the time, or like you said, like, what's the ratio between like how much you make, how much I make, and like maybe we ration expenses that way.
Sure. Yeah.
But again, like it feels like that's one of many conversations that can splinter relationships
Hugely.
in the dating scene.
And it can come right up from the jump too. The moment you introduce that conversation, somebody can get offended by the very notion of having that conversation, because it is treated as very taboo, talking about money, and it really shouldn't be. There should be more of a disclosure, but one of the biggest conversations that Materialists has is about placing value on people too, how people want to feel valued. And I think much more than I would even like to know, people in society value themselves in the dating scene based upon how much they make.
Yeah.
And it might not even be very external. It could be very internalized, a very internalized feeling. Like, do I feel like I'm worth this person? Or it's just like, this person shows an interest in me, but what are they going to say when they find out that I don't make this much money? It's people, I think, really, it's taboo because people really fear to have those conversations too, because there is a lot of judgmental and just malicious people about subjects like that.
Yeah. Another thing that I think is a very sensitive subject is age. Where in this movie it comes up quite a bit.
It does come up a couple times. That is a subject that I feel like it could have touched a little bit more on, though.
Well, yeah, because there is quite a bit of age difference between Dakota Johnson and
Pedro Pascal.
There's like 15 years age difference.
There's a conversation she has with one client at the beginning of the movie about how they only want to date women. They're like in their mid-30s or something.
The guy or the
guy that she's talking to with the big ears.
Yeah, I think I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, like what was his name? Hunt.
Maybe, okay. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the Watergate guy. Something Hunt. The guy with big ears.
Yes.
Anyway, he looked like Hunt.
Ethan Hunt?
No, not Ethan. I wish. I mean, he wouldn't have a problem dating if he was Ethan Hunt.
No, probably not. But Tom Cruise is short.
He's short, but
wealthy,
yeah. So
ladies, are you dating a guy that's 5 feet but makes
you can get the surgery
7 figures? Yeah, dude,
you can afford it.
But that is breaking your legs.
What a violent sounding
multiple
surgery, though,
times.
Right?
Yeah,
Like...
for maybe, dude, if you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar after the surgery, fine. But like only 6 inches of height.
Yeah, I don't know.
They even say like that can like significantly improve your dating whatever.
Yeah, according to the firm's statistics, that's how it works, which makes sense.
I guess if I go from like 5'11" to 6'5",
yeah,
okay.
Do you want to be that tall?
No, I don't care. Yeah. Like
I mean, you're good.
Yeah, like 5'11", is not a bad height. I think people for some reason like 6 feet and higher. Once
it's in the 6 range, that's when it's like, uh-oh.
But yeah, people get really just these arbitrary numbers in their heads when it comes to age. Well, like not dating people in their 30s. Like that was the thing where guys didn't want to date women that were in their 30s.
That was what this guy was saying. He's just like he's in his mid 30s and he's just talking about it's like how he's only dated women in their early 20s, and I'm already like weird, but okay. And then he's like, I think I want to shift to somebody more mature now, so maybe around 27, 28.
29's pushing it though.
29's pushing it. And then she's like, well, I have a really good match for you that's about 31. I thought I made it very clear. No 30s.
I recently, it's
fucked up.
Some people are really sensitive about age.
People are like that.
Yeah, there was one guy who was 54, and in the movie, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to date a woman in her 30s." And Lucy's like, "Okay, I have a client. She's perfect, like cute. She's 39." And he's like, wait, hold on.
39 is 40.
39 is 40. Like
I'm just like, bruh.
And you're 54, man.
I'm just like, bruh, first of all, shut up. And second of all, like, can you figure out some more info about her before you just immediately write this person off? But yeah, people be like that.
You are 54 years old. Why do you want to date somebody 27?
Weird.
It is weird.
It's so weird.
I'm about to be 30, and honestly, talking to people who are like 25, 24.
Tell me about it, dude.
Man,
I'm just like,
There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, we're both about to be 30 here.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't think I would connect with anybody around that age right now. Honestly, it only takes a few years, and then you sense a huge gap. But I think ultimately people in their 20s, for most of their 20s, are just kind of battling for their own identity most of that time. Mm-hmm. And people don't really settle or become the most comfortable with their identity, in my experience, until they reach their 30s. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of qualities that we can see in people in their 20s aren't going to persist, even if they may seem like as juvenile as being a teenager at times. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It is an interesting conversation, though. And I'm just really glad that Celine Song's writing managed to touch on all of these different facets of dating. And she does a great job at it.
I haven't seen Past Lives, but this movie, you say Past Lives is much better than Materialists.
It's like, and this isn't to diminish like the enjoyment of Materialists, but it's tremendously better. Because it plays itself as a straight romantic drama. It's got a lot more interesting themes about like settling and like opportunities that are lost, immigration even.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking beautiful. It's such a beautiful movie, and it's probably got one of the most heartbreaking third acts I've ever seen in a movie.
Whoa.
Like the very last few minutes of that movie are the reason I can only watch it ever so often. It hurts. The ending of that movie hurts.
I'll see it.
But it's so fucking good. You would enjoy it if you like a good romance film. You would. That's one of the best ones ever made, in my opinion.
I do recommend watching Materialists, and I can't wait to see what Celine Song does next.
Same. I also recommend Materialists. It's a very enjoyable and solid romance film. Mm-hmm. And there you have it. Maybe the one and only romance film we'll do this year. Just kidding. I saw a trailer for this this new movie in front of Materialists with Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell.
I saw that too.
And I'm really into that. Mm-hmm. It looks really good.
Yeah.
So we might be back to talk about something like that.
Why not?
Yeah, why not, right? I like those two. I buy it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The what is she? She Australian?
I think so.
Yeah, the Australian and
Irish.
The Irishman.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. But yeah, good time. Good time of the movies this week. I'm much more looking forward to talking about 28 Years Later next week.
Let's do it, dude.
One of my most anticipated films of the year.
I can't wait.
Me too. But until then, thank you everybody to listening to us talk about a little bit of romance in the dead of June. We could have been a little bit more sensual with this, since we're talking about romance.
We definitely weren't. We opened with Freddie Krueger.
Yeah, that's not us.
No.
We're not sensual people.
No.
Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been the Loose Leaf Media Podcast. My name is Davis Leaf. I did this with my co-host,
Romanus.
And we will see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Take care.